Penny for your thoughts.
I hate Brenda, and a bad guy hit me in the shin, and I peed all on my pants.
There's nothing a little music can't help. Rockin' and rollin'. Down to the beach I'm strolling. But the seagulls poking my head, not fun. I said, seagulls, stop it now.
Yeah, whatever, you're sort of pitchy.
Didn't like it?
Listen, man, I'm not your friend.
Don't fall asleep. Don't fall asleep.
All right, so that was the intro for episode 95, A Game of Directors, here on the Westmarch Workshop. For those of you who have no idea what just happened, that was the audio from a video that's called Yoda Rockin' and Rollin', a bad lip reading. And I played that one because it's one of Nineball's favorite videos. If you were around for the beginning of Season 6, it was a song that we kept singing over and over and over as it got stuck in Nineball's head. So I kind of thought it was a nice throwback here at the near end of Season 6. Wink, wink, hint, hint at news items to come. If you can't tell by now, I'm here on my own. It is a solo show here on a special night. It's Friday, July 8th. And normally, of course, we do record on Wednesdays. But Nineball, unfortunately, hasn't had connections of the internet kind. So we weren't able to get things on our scheduled day. And since there are so many news items, we decided that we could not go for far too long before getting a show out there to you guys. So I'm here to do the heavy lifting. Like I was mentioning before I started the show here, I'm mostly just going to talk about many of the news items. There's a ton, so we have a lot to cover. But discussion-wise, I'll introduce some of my thoughts, but mostly leave things open because I think we'll be able to have some really nice discussions once Nineball and I can reconvene to talk about all this good stuff. So without further ado, we'll go ahead and do the normal format of this show, which is the week in gaming to start. My last 2 weeks in gaming since we last were here for you guys, I did a few things. I was on actually the DiabloII.net podcast, and if you guys are following them, which you should support all of the Diablo podcasts out there, even though ours is the best. We have been seeing them cover all the different classes and some of the favorite skills. And it's not necessarily the skills that are the most powerful, but more like the skills that kind of have the best graphics or the best fantasy and flavor for that class. So I went on that show to head up the Crusader stuff. I got to talk about some of my favorite Crusader skills, why I like them, rank them a little bit. So it was a fun episode. If you guys want to check that out, definitely recommend it. That was a couple of weeks ago. They actually just released their one on the Monk this morning. So you'd have to go back to the episode before that one for my Crusader one. Game-wise, I was in the PTR, and I tested a bunch of stuff. They changed the season journey quite a bit, so I had to go ahead and test that out. I'll have that later on in the news section for you guys. What else did I do? I was testing the DH on there, because we now know what the Hadrig's gifts are, because Season 7 went live on the PTR. So there's a lot to discuss just about PTR and Season 7, and maybe even some actual details on Season 7, like when it starts. I don't know. I've also been streaming a lot again. I want to say within the last week and a half or so, I put down maybe 5 or 6 streams. So if you guys are interested in checking that stuff out, same place, same location, twitch.tv/Leviathan111. I'm planning to keep it going pretty strong all the way into the end of Season 6, beginning of Season 7, of course. But before we get into all the seasonal talk, I think it's best that we lead off with what inspired the title of this episode, A Game of Directors, because we had 2 huge news announcements, news posts, newses earlier this week. The first was something that people noticed at the Blizzard careers page. Now, we've been looking at that page because we noticed along the way that there were these positions coming up for the unannounced project in the Diablo universe. And this is something that we've discussed on the podcast many, many times. Is it the Diablo 3 expansion? Is it the new Diablo 4? New game, new something in the Diablo world? We still don't have any concrete evidence as to which, but this news kind of pushes things towards one side, in my opinion. And so we found out that they are now hiring a game director for this unannounced project. And when we first got that news, a lot of people were like, oh, they have a game director, Josh Mosquera. Like, where is he? What is he going to do? Is he working on D3? And this means that D4 is going to be headed up by someone else? What's Josh going to do? Well, it turns out about 2 days later, we found out that Josh is leaving Blizzard. It turns out that he has decided to move on because he believes that Diablo 3 is in a good place for the timing of him deciding to go elsewhere. So he's not only stepping down from being the game director on Diablo 3, he's leaving Blizzard. We don't yet know where he will end up next. He didn't really note anything that detailed. He did leave us with a Twitter post saying, "Thanks to an amazing team and community, forever #Diablo." So he did let us know that, he was thinking of us. But yeah, there was an article from Polygon that broke this news that he was leaving. In an email to Polygon, Blizzard confirmed that Mosquera had stepped down as the director of Diablo 3, and he's no longer at Blizzard. The quote from Blizzard that Polygon got is as follows: "With Diablo 3 in a good place at this point, Josh felt that now was a good time to pursue other opportunities with minimal impact to the team." Blizzard said in an email, "We'll be filling the director role either from within Blizzard or externally." And so these two announcements kind of paired together because we were looking at, some of the responsibilities and requirements that they were looking for in this game director. And well, we were thinking like maybe Josh might pitch himself as the next game director. Like, I don't know what the transition would be like. So it's not going to be him. My actual thinking, I don't know how these things work. I'm not super well versed in kind of the culture of game development. So I'm not sure if maybe like he pitched his idea for the next D4 and they were like, we like it, but that's not the direction we want to go in. And maybe that's why he left, because he knew he wouldn't be the game director for the next Diablo. And maybe that meant like, okay, well, my time here is obviously limited, so I should start looking for other work. And part of me also wonders if that's the same thing that happened for Jay Wilson, because we remember a few weeks back, he also made an announcement that he was leaving Blizzard. And I wonder, here's another thing too, right? Would they actually ever let Jay Wilson put his name as game director on another Diablo game? I feel like, the thing is, what we don't know is how widespread is it that Jay Wilson had involvement in Diablo. I feel like people who are well versed in Diablo games certainly know that name. They're familiar with it. They're familiar with his infamous quote and his famous quote. I guess both are potentially infamous. But does the general public know like Jay Wilson, was the game director on D3 and then they associate all these bad feelings? I don't know. But maybe he pitched his own idea too, and then they were like, that's this, kind of a good thing for D4 maybe, but we're not going to do it, and maybe that's why he moved on as well. Obviously all speculation, I don't know. But I guess we'll see who ends up stepping into that role, because they will be kind of the face of this new project. Whenever it gets announced, they will be the one making that announcement, at a BlizzCon 2016 maybe. A little a little wishful thinking there, but probably not. We have Gamescom coming up in August. That's a big convention for Blizzard traditionally. That's where they actually announced Reaper of Souls back before that launched in 2015. 2013. Sorry. So we don't know of anything that's going to come out of Gamescom Diablo specific. We haven't had any hints, any revelations, divination, etc. And we don't know anything about BlizzCon as well. So keep your fingers crossed. Maybe we'll get a little glimpse, like the slightest teaser trailer, a 5-second, Diablo 4 with flames in the background or something. I don't know. Anything would be better than nothing at this point though, right? So we will speculate and continue to think more about this. Some people are saying they would love to see Wyatt Cheng as the next game director. So if they do go internal, I don't know, that could be a cool option. If they go external, I'd be curious to see who they try and grab. But one of the things, I'm going to switch the format up here a little bit because we had a Twitter spiel, maybe? We had 3 posts come in from Twitter from WJ Nelson01. And he said he had a question for the community feedback section, but I'm going to move it up to this part because it's kind of pertinent to what I'm talking about. And he says, do you think with all the departures that the next Diablo game will be a different genre? RTS, Skyrim type RPG, or gasp, an MMO? At this point, with all the original creators leaving, it opens the door for something brand new. You guys talked about the possibility last show, but with Josh gone now too, I actually think it's likely. And this is something that, you know, we batted around a little bit. Could the next Diablo game look like something that is not your typical Diablo? It's not your isometric, top-down ARPG, hack and slash. What if it's something that's a little faster? What if it's something that looks a little more glitzier? Something from a true, like, third-person point of view? I don't know. We could see something that looks different, you know? Something that is a bit more in line with modern RPGs, like not JRPGs, but more of like what we see with, like he mentioned, a Skyrim or like a Mass Effect, or I don't know. I mean, it could take the shape of anything really at this point. Some people have been jokingly saying an iOS D3. Shepard in chat is trolling a little bit with that too. I mean, we remember that they did acquire King, the same developers that created the conglomeration of ridiculousness that is Candy Crush. So they still have that working in the background. I don't know, man. They could make some crazy Diablo Bloodshard collector or something. Who knows? But I highly doubt that it's going to be... Maybe it'll have an iOS component or a phone component. But I don't think that'll be the crux of the next Diablo game. I think it will be something that's more your traditional PC. And maybe they will also, since console was so successful for them, maybe console will play into the next D4 or whatever they decide to make it as well. But I think, you know, when I see these changes and the shifting of all these positions and people leaving, some people are ready to say the sky is falling, what's going to happen, this looks all bad. But I don't know, for me, I guess, you know, I am kind of a positive person, or I try to be. I get really excited about the idea of just massive change because it could spell something that's beyond our wildest, you know, imaginings, things that we couldn't even, you know, Blizzard is really good at surprising us when it comes to announcements and things that we thought we wanted, but then they give us something that's close to that, but at the same time completely different. So you never know. I do hope, though, I will say I truly do hope that they maintain some of the crew that worked on Vanilla D3 and ROS, because, you know, we need those lessons that were learned along the way to stick, and we need the people who were around to see what it was like when the vanilla days were dark and gloomy, and what it was like when Reaper of Souls was really like redefining the game and making things better. Because I think if we get too far away from, oh yeah, you know, D3 was what it was, it had its ups, it had its downs, but now we have a fresh slate, they could easily repeat, you know, the mistakes of history. So I think it would be good just to have other people there that have been through it already, and you have to believe that with gaining the experience of working on an ARPG, if you were going to create another one, you would want those people to stick around. So we will see. But segueing into other Blizzard staffing, you guys might remember when community manager Tivolier stepped onto the scene. He was actually one of my friends IRL, well, although we met online, but he was doing work over on the DiabloII.net site as a writer, and then he got picked up by Blizzard to be a community manager for Diablo, and then he transitioned over to the StarCraft team to help them with the launch of their last expansion, Legacy of the Void. And now that that has all settled and the dust is good and gone, he came back. So now he's actually a community manager on the Diablo side of things, which brings their team back up to 3 people. They were just down to Nevelistus and Kauza, who came in as like the community manager right before BlizzCon 2015. And so now they're back strong. 3, we welcome you back, Tivolier. It's good to have you. And you know, exciting stuff. People are now speculating that they're gaining a member of the community team. Does this mean soon there will be like things to communicate to people in the community? Will there be PR that they need all these people to manage? And you know, are they getting ready for this hailstorm of news? You know, we can read into anything, so who knows? But you know, it's at least nice to have familiar faces back, and always good when the community team grows. Into some seasonal news, we now have the end date for Season 6, and that will occur July 22nd. It's actually 2 weeks from this recording right now. So July 22nd, a Friday, at 8 p.m. Eastern, adjust for your time zone, 5 p.m. Pacific. It's 5 p.m. across all their standard regions, so 5 p.m. CEST for Europe, 5 p.m. KST for Asia, 5 p.m. Pacific for Americas. The season will finish up, and we actually now know the start date for Season 7 as well, and that's going to be August 5th with a start time of 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific in the Americas, and the same 5 p.m. Standard start around the different regions as well, Europe and Asia. So this is pretty cool. We now know you have your 2-week warning. Get your stuff done if your seasonal journey is not yet complete. I recommend getting on that because this is your shot to get that stash tab. Even though you won't technically run out of opportunities to get your stash tab, if you want to get all 10 maxed as soon as possible, then you got to make sure you get it this season as well. Yeah, it's starting up. It's coming soon. And I imagine with the season going live, Season 7 at August 5th, we could probably see patch 2.4.2 dropping around August 2nd, which is that Tuesday before that seasonal start. And pretty common with what's been happening the last 2 seasons. So if history repeats itself, which it often does, we can expect to see the new patch right at the start, well, right around the start of the new month. Season 7, a lot of it is on the PTR, I guess all of it technically. So you can go in and test it right now if you want to get a glimpse of what's going to occur. There was a major patch to the PTR about a week ago, and that was the patch that brought about the huge support changes that Wyatt had kind of forewarned us about. There was a forum post from Wyatt talking about his feelings and the development team's feelings on the 3-person meta, the whole Twister Wizard, you know, stare at a corner and spam energy twisters towards it, have your 3 supports gather everything in the rift and bring it to that one specific section, kind of the ups and downs of that gameplay, mostly the downs. And so there were a few takeaway points he wanted to mention about them making changes towards that meta. And he noted, one of the things he noted off the bat was that it is not the development team's job to just change the meta for the sake of changing it. So just because things stagnate or, you know, the same build is good for 2 seasons in a row, they're not just going to go in and shift numbers around to make it so that something different rises to the top the next season. So that's an interesting thing when I look at it, just because it could potentially mean if they get done, in quotes, with the game, then at some point you could actually just have this same season rolling, you know, from patch to patch to patch, because if the numbers don't change, if we figure out exactly what the meta is best, you know, what is the best 4-player composition, then it will always be the best until they change it going forward. And if they have no desire to change it, or they don't believe that they should change it or need to change it, then that means that, you know, you're doomed, to use a scary word, to repeat the same thing season to season. So I don't know if that's kind of what he was getting at there, or if they will continue to do these balance changes for the sets, you know, make sure a set's falling behind, they boost it up to catch up, because that in itself kind of could potentially change the meta based on how much, like if the shadow set falls too far behind for demon hunters, they boost their numbers way up, then probably the shadow set's the way to go the next season. So I mean, that in itself would change things around, but I don't know how often they're going to make those tweaks, so we'll see. But the major things that we also took away from Wyatt's post was that supports were just going to get wrecked. They didn't want it to get to a point where it felt better to bring a support than it did a second DPS. So he noted that any class that could bring basically more than 100% of damage buffs to the battlefield would not be able to do so in the next patch. And we saw some crazy nerfs. Like, the Witch Doctor is one of the best classes at amplifying damage, and a lot of their stuff was just made so that instead of being able to affect the party, it only affects the Witch Doctor. The Witch Doctor basically gets the ability to buff its own damage for itself. One of the things I was curious about, and I haven't been able to test it yet on PTR, is whether they will work with whether those buffs will work with the pets too. Because if it doesn't buff the pets, then you're kind of really underpowering the best setup that the Witch Doctors have right now, which is like the Helltooth Gargantuan, Legacy of Nightmares Gargantuan. So I'm hoping, and I'm assuming, giving the benefit of the doubt, that they also noticed this kind of like glaring issue. It made it so that when they say it'll buff the Witch Doctor, it's like Witch Doctor and company of the Witch Doctor. So the Witch Doctor's pets, but not the Witch Doctor's party members, as in other players. So that's something to test. I haven't seen too much like insanity from the Witch Doctor community, so I'm guessing it's working properly in terms of not damaging their builds too much. But we did see some down-tuned numbers for a lot of their stuff. We saw it for some Barb stuff as well, for some DH stuff, for some Crusader stuff. Like the Crusader traditional setups that rely on critical hit chance and critical hit damage. Like critical, literally critical, the rune on the Laws of Valor got changed from 100% down to 50%, so literally cut in half. And we're already... the Crusader was shunted towards Thorns being its best thing that it would ever have. That is like truly reinforcing that as their like top meta, because now if you were wanting to run anything that had to do with critical hit chance and critical hit damage, you have already lost more power than you had in the past. So I don't know. I didn't feel great about reading that. And maybe they'll adjust for other things on the sets and whatnot for Crusaders in particular. But that was one of the things I was saying all along, is I'm very curious to see how the solo play will be affected by the group changes. Because yes, the group changes definitely need to happen. I'm 100% behind changing that meta so that 3 supports is not the way to go. It'd be nice if we shift towards a 2 DPS, 2 support meta, like a little bit of compromise there. But if solo gets negatively adversely affected as a result, then I feel like it's kind of maybe it's that, hit on the chin that we have to take, but man, that's gonna feel bad. I think no matter what though, going into patch 2.4.2, we're going to have to realize that this is the first time it won't be power creep. We're getting power, what's the opposite of creep? Power uncreep. I don't know. There's probably a word for it. But yeah, we're going backwards a little bit. So we won't be going to as high of greater rifts. Won't be going to as high of power levels, etc. So just be prepared for that. And definitely test it on PTR if you're curious on what it's going to feel like. Other things that I learned from the PTR, like I mentioned that Season 7 is live on there, so that means we know what all the Hadrig's gifts are. So if you want to prepare, maybe think about what class you want to run, here are your Hadrig's gifts for Season 7. Power Decay, I like that. Coming from the chat, Mikey's got Power Decay. Power Nerf from Kragon. So your Hadrig's gifts are, in order, Barbarian, Wrath of the Waste, Crusader, Roland's Legacy, Demon Hunter, Unhallowed Essence, Monk, Raiment of 1,000 Storms, Witch Doctor, Helltooth Harness, and Wizard Tal Rasha's Vestments. So some pretty powerful sets there actually. Demon Hunters are going to be very happy with getting Unhallowed Essence. I mean that's like the thing to go to if you want speed, if you want damage. Witch Doctor should do really nicely with Helltooth Harness, assuming, like I was saying before, their ability to buff damage should hopefully still translate to pets, then that should be good to go. And then actually, if you're really looking to speed farm the Wizard Tal Rasha's Vestments, the Wizard class itself is undergoing quite a bit of change. The Firebird set, like we have been mentioning along the way, has been really reworked on the PTR. The Swami, which is a helm that they have with a power that kind of lets some of the Archon stacks leak over, that got some changes to it, so those stacks are additive instead of multiplicative. So they're losing, in quotes, a lot of their power, but if you want to look at it another way, a lot of their bugs are being fixed, so they will hopefully be in line with like some of the best builds that the other classes can do now, rather than miles ahead of everyone else. But Tal Rasha's Vestment should still be good to go, I think, with the Arcane Blast. Hopefully I'm getting that right. This is my wizard knowledge failing, but they have their crazy build, the Woe Rasha build with the Wand of Woe and all the crazy destruction, teleport, kill everything on the screen faster than anyone else. So we'll see. Although it'll also be interesting to see how a lot of the speed builds translate to Torment 13, assuming everyone wants to get to Torment 13 eventually for their speed farming. I'll be very curious to see how many of the builds that we were really kind of relying on, things like the Gold Wrap and the Avarice Band and the Boon of the Hoarder combination for the toughness, how they translate if we're going to need a little bit more power, or if we're going to need to wear like real gems instead of in Boon of the Hoarder and stuff like that. So we'll see how that translates. We also know with Season 7 coming up on the PTR what the conquests will be for Season 7. And the 5 that we'll have are Speed Racer, which is the, clear the game in 1 hour, all acts under 1 hour. Avarice / Avaricia, the 50 million gold streak. Superhuman, which is the GR45 with no set pieces at all equipped. On a good day, level 3 gems to 65. And then Lionhearted, which is a GR75 solo. So no brand new conquests. These are all ones that we've seen in past seasons. A decent mix of ones that are soloable and groupable. Speed Racer is obviously one of those ones where you'd like to have a group to run through it. You can do it solo. There have been Demon Hunters and other classes I think even have done it solo. So it is possible, but you guarantee a higher rate of success with a coordinated group. Avaricia, Avarice, it looks like a lot of people are now returning to the ruins of Corvus and killing all the little beetles there to get their gold streaks, seeing as the Gilded Baron received some very heavy nerfs to the amount of gold that you get. You can't really kind of cheat your... Whoa! That was a Freudian slip. You can't... you can't finagle your way towards that conquest super easily just by finding a Gilded Baron. Instead, I mean, you could actually still do it in a regular rift. If you get a Gilded Baron, it puts you more than well on your way, because you can probably get about like 25 million gold on average from a Gilded Baron. And then say you just had a nice open map in a regular rift, you'd be able to continue to kill those mobs with your Boon of the Hoarder, and you should be able to get enough gold to get up to 50 million. It looks like the most guaranteed way to do it should be that return to the ruins of Corvus. Superhuman, GR45, that's still the same as it was when this conquest was first introduced, so this should technically be easier with some of the power creep. It does, again, depend on your class, because some classes have non-set pieces that boost certain skills way high. Like for Crusaders, I did this with a Blessed Shield build last time around, but also Thorns is a really strong way to get through it too. Demon Hunters actually did this on PTR with a multi-shot Demon Hunter. It was not the most guaranteed clear. I had to do it twice, but it was also at like very low Paragon, very low gem levels and stuff, so it's doable. And multi-shot was a solid way to do it. I think also potentially going with Chakram, since you do have that Sword of Ill Will, and then you have the Spines of the Seething Hatred for that quiver, makes for some nice non-set Demon Hunter stuff to boost up your damage. So Superhuman, it's always a fun one in my opinion, so I'm looking forward to that. On a good day, standard, it's just a grind to level your gems up. It looks like we should be able to empower many more greater rifts without damaging our gold in this coming season, just based on the way that they rescaled gold rewards and the way that they rescaled the empowered rift cost. So you should be able to get this done actually pretty quickly, at least faster than technically you were able to get it done last season. Lionhearted GR75 solo, I mean, that's up there, but everyone should be able to do that by the time you get a really tricked out 6-piece set. get all your standard rolls and things like that, get into something that's very meta for pushing the leaderboards, then GR75 should be doable. Another thing that's worth noting is that they really redid the seasonal journey. They completely made it so that it's a lot harder to get your Hadrig's gift bags. So before, you might remember, to complete Hadrig's gift, to get all 3 bags and then all 6 pieces of your set, or all 7 pieces for the sets that have 7 pieces, like Inna's, you would have to do level to 70, kill a boss on Torment 2, Izual, Zoltan Cool, and then do a GR20 solo. In this coming season, as far as it exists on the PTR right now, what you actually have to do is complete entire chapters of the seasonal journey before the bag is delivered to you. So to get that first bag, you have to clear chapter 2, second bag, clear chapter 3, third bag, clear chapter 4. And a lot of the things in these chapters are pretty simple. Some of them are like enchant a piece of gear at the enchant a piece of gear at Miriam. Put a gem in your gear, equip your follower with all items and things like that. So it's stuff that's very simplistic. It's just like introducing players to how like Diablo works. Some of the stuff actually does get a bit tedious and asks a bit more of you. One of the ones I saw was do an entire game's worth of bounties, all acts. So that's actually something that should be interesting, because normally people like to do that activity once they had acquired their 6-piece sets, because you could blow through it way faster when you had all that power. But instead, you'll kind of have to slog through it. You could just take a group and do normal and potentially do splits on that and just get it done super quickly. But it'll be interesting, because a lot of the things that they're asking you to do, some of the stuff is like Torment 4 difficulty, killing bosses and stuff like that. Some of those would be a lot easier with a 6-piece set, but you'll only be under the effects of 4 pieces at best, unless you get lucky and find some pieces along the way while you're trying to complete the last chapter, chapter 4 and whatnot. So it'll definitely be an interesting change. I think what it's aiming to do is slow down the beginning of the season, make those early levels, those early Torment difficulties a little more relevant. And I think for people that were really feeling kind of the ridiculousness of, I hit level 70, I go to Torment 2, I kill that boss, I do my GR20, and now I'm in Torment 7, 8, 9, 10, like instantly. This should at least give a little bit more longevity. And so for people that maybe only play to finish the seasonal journey, this should actually make the game a little longer for them. They spend more time in the season. But then again, for people who just want to blow through the seasonal journey and don't really care about seasons, this is actually requiring a little more effort on their part. So, some pros and cons perhaps, depending on what side of the pendulum you fall on as it swings. So that's mainly the stuff that you can expect to see regarding Season 7. Again, most of that was found for me on the PTR, so it could be subject to change by the time it actually hits live, but it looks like, live is coming soon, right? It's less than a month away for the next patch, so I don't imagine that much of this is going to change. So you can start planning your Season 7 as time goes on. We have a lot of the info here for you. Something that is of the essence, talking about timing, is a bit of an apology to the community. This just happened earlier today, where Wyatt took to the forums and he admitted that the developers made a mistake. A lot of people, shout out to Shepard, by the way, because he is one of the people that I know has been dedicatedly trying his damnedest to get this pennant, the Fallen Pennant, the Khazra Pennant as it was once known as, and it's now been officially named the Harvest Pennant. People were like, it's in the game, they've told us it's in the game, where the hell is it? We need it now. Everyone's farming, everyone's theory crafting these crazy ideas of what you need to do to get it. Everyone's reading into every single word that Neville is saying, like, there's a puzzle to solve, where do we go, like, what's the puzzle? How can no one have found it with all these man hours? And Wyatt Cheng came in to note all that time was wasted. We're so sorry. What ended up happening was that the developers, in order to test whether it could actually drop, had a certain environment within the game themselves, and when they did their finagling, it was dropping, but when all those pieces came together, in reality, it actually wasn't dropping. And I'll actually read what he said so that I don't misquote it or misrepresent it. Third paragraph in, he says, "How did this happen? Testing something that is intentionally extremely rare means we need to use some dedicated testing techniques. Our team uses a combination of code reviews, simulation, and cheat codes to verify functionality. Sometimes things can appear to work correctly in parts, but malfunction when they are put together. For example, in the case of the pennant, we were able to verify that individual portions of the criteria to obtain the pennant function correctly, but the end-to-end process resulted in the pennant being unattainable once the patch went live." So I feel really badly for the players that were hunting this thing day and night, up and down, all over Sanctuary, and came up with 0 results. And the development team felt badly as well. And so the timeliness of this portion that I was mentioning is that there will be a double Blood Shard community buff weekend. And that weekend is happening basically right meow. If you're listening to this, it's live. If you're listening to this right now and you're in chat, it isn't actually live yet, but by the time this gets to the people, it actually might even be too late by the time this gets to the people. Depending on when you listen to this, you might not get to experience this buff. I hope you do, though. So it's coming, it's slated to start July 9th at 12:01 a.m. Pacific. That's 3 a.m. in the morning for us Eastern Seaboard folks. And it ends on Sunday, July 10th at 11:59 Pacific. So basically Saturday, the beginning, the literal first minute that Saturday starts to the last minute that Sunday goes, you will be able to get double blood shards in the game. This is kind of their, my bad. We'll give you guys something. And I mean, it is worth noting that they said they weren't going to do community buffs during the season anymore. So this is obviously kind of like an extreme situation where they really just feel awful about everyone wasting their time. So they're trying to kind of give you some of your time back in a way. What you could now get in 2 days worth of blood shards, you're getting 4 days worth. So you get 2 days back, kind of. A good thing for them to do. Unfortunate that this bug worked out this way. But I guess it's also worth noting that people on the PTR have tested and confirmed that Stefan's Heavy Lance, the Mace of Crows, and the Harvest Pennant are all dropping. All those locations have been found. People are making videos on them now. I won't tell you so that it's not spoiled in case you're one of those people that likes the hunt and doesn't want to know right away where all these things are. But people are confirming on PTR that they are now findable. So you can look forward to them dropping in the next patch for sure. I would not farm them now because at least the Harvest Pennant. I'm not sure about the other two. There was no mention of the Mace of Crows or Stefan's Heavy Lance, but those don't seem to be dropping either, so I would just wait on all three for the next patch. I feel so bad. There's so much time. So much time. And coding, and Shepard's in chat and he's being good about it. Coding's hard. They have so much code and these things go live and sometimes they just don't turn out the way they intended or want them to. Alright, so what else do we have here? We're almost done with our news. I did cover the big changes to the group meta, the PTR patch. I can look into some of the stuff that changed in specific in the PTR. Sometimes talking about PTR changes kind of seems like, I don't know, shooting an arrow into the wind and then the arrow returns to you like a boomerang because the wind blew it. Basically what I'm saying is that sometimes talking about it is kind of useless because it might just change anyways. Some of the stuff might not go live, but at least knowing what the changes are along the way kind of gives you a sense of what the patch eventually might look like. So I'll at least go over some of the bigger things that happened in the last iteration on the PTR. One of the big things that they also wanted to mess with in terms of grouping is making it so that you can't just pull the entire level of a Greater Rift to one location. So, one of the things that you would see in these 4-player groups is a Barb or a DH would go out and kind of scout the area and pull monsters back with, the Harpoon, the Ancient Spear for Barbs, You would, maybe the monk is now pulling all that stuff once it gets close enough in proximity with their, this is me not remembering that skill, but the one that sucks everything in. Someone's going to type it into chat and save me soon enough. But basically they want to have less of that. So they made it so that knockbacks apply a flat 40% increase to crowd control resistances. So that means your knockbacks are going to become very ineffective very quickly, and you won't be able to pull things as reliably as often. Cyclone Strike, there it is. Thank you, Power Axes. You win the gold star for today, good sir. So what this means is that monsters will actually not be pullable after a short period of time. The next change is that monsters cannot be knocked back if they are over 65% crowd control resistant. So you basically get like 2 pulls, it sounds like, and that's it. It's going to be a little interesting seeing how this works, especially again for solo play, because some builds in solo actually rely on some knockbacks. And remember that pulling stuff in is just an inverse of a knockback. So think of Vortex, the affix. When you pull things in, you're technically knocking them back towards you. So that's why we're discussing knockbacks. You're like, wait, you're not knocking anything back from you. You're pulling things in. Same mechanic. The third change that went along with this is that powers that apply knockbacks continuously, such as Black Hole, bypass this resistance if they already knocked a monster back successfully. These powers increase the crowd control resistance by 20% per knockback instead of 40%. So some of the things that do a constant knockback, like the mentioned example, Black Hole, will have a little bit of a different nuance as to how they play. But again, they're all severely going under this increase to the crowd control resistance that mobs get. So basically, long and short of that, you're going to have a tougher time pulling things together. Like I mentioned, a lot of the skills on support classes in general were changed so that they're not as good for grouping, or just not as good in general. Like one of the major changes for monks, Inner Sanctuary, the Forbidden Palace rune no longer increases the damage taken by enemies inside Inner Sanctuary. That's just cut from that skill and that rune, which is kind of crazy. So like that's a huge change for both solo and group. And for the Flesh is Weak for Inner Sanctuary, they reduced the damage a little bit. That went from 20 to 15%. But that's just like one example of the major changes that they're making. They also made changes to healing as well. So some of the healing that monks could provide has been cut pretty severely. A lot of the damage reduction has been cut for groups. So it's going to be an interesting time. I feel like I keep going back to that, but it's tough to exactly say what it's going to be, but it will certainly be interesting. That is guaranteed. What is actually super interesting right now, though, is that on the PTR, as of the last time I checked, the top group clear is still Energy Twister Wizard with 3 supports. Can you actually believe that? So even after these changes, I'm like kind of overselling, but not really, the severity of these changes, the meta is still the same on the PTR. So a lot of people in Reddit, especially over the last few days, have been kind of amped up and like saying like, oh, you guys need to do something about the sword itself, or the way Energy Twister works itself, because it's still just out DPSing any other potential setup. My plea and my thought is to really just get rid of the sword. To say, like, you can bring it back if you find a way to change it or fix it, but I think it really needs to be disabled for Season 7. It's the only way we're going to know what else would happen if Energy Twister Wizard isn't a thing. But the fact that this sword is this powerful and they keep nerfing it, like it got reduced down to 5 stacks now, I believe. It's still too good. It's still too powerful. So I don't know. I believe that they either need to just change the way that it works completely, get rid of it, make it into something else, put it on a different piece and lower the amount that you get from it. I don't know, but whatever they've done so far has not worked, unfortunately. It needs to be nerfed to the ground, as Cold Bleeded is saying in chat. Other changes. Oh, this is an interesting one. So they actually made it so that Topaz and Helm, which you guys might be familiar with, giving you some magic find, which is kind of a non-existent stat in this game at this point in time. It will now, instead of giving you magic find in your Helm, give you reduced resource costs. So you get RCR from socketing a topaz in your helm with the same percentage increase based on its level as you get for CDR. So if you look at a diamond, the way that it interacts with your helm right now, topaz will interact in the same fashion with a maximum of 12.5% for the highest level topaz of resource cost reduction. So I haven't really given that one much thought. I'm not sure like what builds would slot that in or which builds would want it over CDR or maybe even over an amethyst, but I guess potentially builds that we're using an amethyst could potentially swap in a topaz and do something with that instead. Resource cost reduction is actually a pretty strong affix when you stack it up, because you can get more of your skill off, and if you get more of a skill off, then technically your DPS increases, etc., etc. So potential there for some new stuff to come in. And that's really it. There's not too much else to discuss from this latest batch of PTR changes. A lot of it's very specific to specific skills. So if you, again, are curious about PTR stuff, hop in, test, make some feedback. It's probably getting pretty close to the time where the PTR will get locked and changes will no longer be able to be made. So, another thing where time is of the essence. I would hop in and make your voice known if you really care about the way that the game is progressing and what changes you would like to see. Heading back to our show notes, the only other things I have here for news are some smaller items. Since we last convened, there were actually 2 Player Away Thursdays, one that just happened yesterday and one that happened 2 weeks ago. So we'll start with the one from 2 weeks ago. That was the inaugural return. Can you have an inaugural return? I don't know. It was the return of Player Away Thursday. And the first build that they decided to highlight was Davlok's Lashing Tail Kick Monk, the one kick monk. And this one is based off of a Legacy of Nightmares setup that utilizes all the items that help you boost up your Lashing Tail Kick. And this is an interesting build, if not just because of patch 2.4.2 and the fact that one of the best monk builds right now seems to be a Lashing Tail Kick build. So this could be like, hey, do you want to practice what Lashing Tail Kick might look like in the Season 7? Try out this Player Away Thursday build. So pretty cool stuff there. And then the one from yesterday featured a Barbarian, and it was Syndro's Convention Barbarian. And this one relied on the IK set, I believe, and using generators. And you're like, what? Generator builds? Who does that? But this one's actually kind of cool. It utilizes a lot of the barb stuff that's out there. They have a few different mighty weapons that boost up like bash damage and your generators in general, your primary attacks, your primary skills. And then of course, Simplicity Strength gains some multiplicativeness to it. So there's that you can use. Depth Diggers is multiplicative. So there's actually a lot of stuff that kind of works towards generators. But mostly it was just a build based around kind of the rotation of convention of elements and using different skills with different elements to attack when those different elements on convention roll around. Seemed like a cool build. So if you're interested in either of those, you can check them out. Both of them are on the Play Away Thursday blog, on the main Diablo site, and also highlighted on diablo.blizzpro.com. And I should mention that we have literally everything that I've just talked about. We've been crushing it on the diablo.blizzpro.com site. I'm super proud of all the work that we've been doing. So if you guys want to check out like guides on Hadrig's Gift, Season 7 preview stuff, all this speculation and news on the game director, like we've covered everything. PTR stuff, the 2.4.2 meta changes, there's a lot going on there, so highly recommend checking out the site. You'll find a lot of good stuff to enjoy and read. 2 more items, not really Diablo related, but kind of Diablo related. Heroes of the Storm, for any of you guys who are also fans of other Blizzard games, they revealed that they're adding a new Diablo character over there, Ariel, who's one of the angels from Diablo. And this is the moment where I'm like, Nineball, help me with lore. I think she's the Angel of Hope? Maybe? He's probably like rolling around in his internetless grave right now. And so she's going to be a new support character over in Heroes of the Storm. I don't know much beyond that because I don't really play a lot of heroes, but hey, More Diablo elsewhere, always a good thing. And last but not least, you guys know that at the end of the last episode, we very hastily talked about the fact that the Diablo developers and community team did a really cool thing by making it so that the random name generator for elite monsters in the game will now be able to display names of prominent members of the community. I don't know how else to say that, but people who contribute a lot to the community, whether they be streamers, MVPs of the forums, podcasters, Diablo Reddit moderators, guide writers, like from all walks of Diablo life, people who put forth the extra effort to really gel the community and bring it together. Blizzard kind of did a cool thing by giving an homage to a lot of those people. I think we mentioned last time, like Quinn's in there, Riker's in there, myself, I am in there, luckily. And they added some others like Monstrous, he's in there. Miss Cheetah, who often stops by the show here, she got added as well. And everyone's added kind of under different names. Like I got Leviathan because it kind of fits. They have to, work within the confines of how the affixes and the suffixes and prefixes of the elite names work. So you might see, whoops, I pointed the wrong way. This guy, that guy over there, his name is in there too, but it might be a little bit of a mystery to you as to exactly how they did his name. So I won't reveal exactly, maybe he will next episode, what his name looks like, but you should look for it. If you're on PTR, you'll see it, and then when the patch goes live, you'll definitely see it. So really exciting and fun stuff. Again, to all the devs or community managers and people who are listening right now, we are greatly appreciative because that's a really cool gesture. And it's awesome to be kind of like immortalized within the game. And that's the news section, guys. Woo! How'd I do? All right, 50 minutes or so of news. I told you there was a lot going on. We could not go too long without giving you all of these things, especially since some stuff had literally just popped up before I was deciding to do this show. So, go over all of this with a fine-tooth comb. There's a lot of meat on the bone. Other cliche type things that people say about there being a lot of stuff. And I would like to move on at this moment to the community feedback section. We have a few emails that I'll blast through. It's definitely quiet. I can tell you guys are either taking a break from Diablo right now, or you're just kind of biding your time playing but not really finding like items you want to send in or whatnot. But we miss you guys. If you feel like it, drop us a line. We're on Twitter. It's the WM Workshop. Just send us a tweet on how you're doing, what you're looking forward to in the next patch in Season 7, what class you plan to roll now that you know what the Hadrix gifts are. We just want to hear how you guys are doing out there. And if it's a little bit longer than a tweet, or you just really like sending emails, you can do that too. Send an email to westmarchworkshop@blizzpro.com. and we will read it on the show. We'll feature any items that you send in the items of the week section of the show. We want to hear from you guys. We do this thing for you. We love it when you guys interact with us. We like to hear your ideas and talk about them because you guys are like way more imaginative than I could ever imagine that you would imagine. Wrap your head around that for a second. So definitely write in. I completely understand right now you're probably like out enjoying the sun and vacationing to exotic places that are not sanctuary video games, staying indoors. So keep doing that. But if you have a mobile phone and you're listening to the podcast, just type a little something real quick. Like, hey, I'm in Bermuda. Leave me alone. In any case, here's an email that's coming in from Bull Wraith. And he wants to apply to the clan. He says, hello there, gents. I discovered the podcast a week or two into this season and thoroughly enjoy it. I'm pretty much a Diablo noob, knowledge-wise, and I could be classified as a casual's casual so far. I skipped D1 and D2 entirely and did D3 when it came out. I played a bit, but then I logged on one day and you could no longer smash things. That was a fun killer. After that, I pretty much stayed away until Season 4. I started Season 6 on launch day, and now my Witch Doctor is just Paragon 215 and wearing the free set. I just hit 70 with my first wizard. I tend to jump around a bit. And I'm going to bite the bullet and do Season 7 hardcore just because. Yeah, buddy. I log into the game pretty much every night and end up doing a lot of solo play because of distractions around the house. I just listened to the new podcast while doing bindery work at the shop. And it sounds like you have some openings in the clan. When I log in tonight, I'll apply, and if you don't mind having an old scatterbrain bumming around with you all, I'll appreciate the acceptance. If not, I understand. My elite gaming days are pretty much behind me. While in the Navy, I played the original Pong when it came out. Wow, nice, old school gaming. And I don't want to be a drag on anyone. I'm looking forward to getting off work and bashing some demons. We also had another clan request. I'll hit them both with my answer here in a moment. And this one came in from Brooke, saying, "Hey guys, I sent in a request to join your clan. My battle tag is no one's minion. I'm hoping that I can find more people to play with. My previous clan has all but died, and none of them play hardcore either. I play mostly on the weekends, but I do get an hour or so in a couple nights during the week. Thanks, Brooke." So, for anyone that is looking for clan invites, you have been accepted. So if you're just listening, if you were waiting for the podcast to find out whether you had been accepted or not, you're in the clan. Woo! We still have plenty of spots because there is, like we mentioned, quite the lull, and people have not logged in to refresh their timer of how long we allow them to kind of be AFK before we make room for more players. So again, if you want to join in, feel free to send an email, westmarchworkshop@blizspro.com. But you can also just use the in-game clan request system and just join in. Remember that we cannot accept your request if you are currently in a clan. And I know, again, it's that kind of like you put yourself in limbo by leaving one, but not potentially getting into one. So if you do make that request and you see that I'm on or 9ball's on, feel free to send us a message and we can make it happen right then and there. Find some space for you, or let you know if, there might be the tiniest bit of a wait. But right now your odds are really good for getting in. And since you know that Season 7 is coming when it's coming, if you just maintain your playability, just log in every now and again, you can stay in right up until the beginning of Season 7, and then you'll have the guaranteed clan to back you up and race forward with you on the beginning of Season 7. So do that. There's some info for you. Got an email here from Henry, and he says, "Nine and Leviathan, you guys helped me through a period of depression last year where I was hospitalized for thoughts of suicide. I listened to you guys a lot in the preceding months, always giving me something to laugh about or goals to stay positive. Thank you for doing all you do." And that's awesome. The show is usually very heavy on levity. See what I did there? We usually love to joke around and laugh and make dick jokes, and 9ball is what a dick, right, for not being here for such a heartfelt email. But in all seriousness, it's really cool to hear when we kind of touch the hearts of the community. Like I was saying just moments ago, we do this show for you guys. Like, we enjoy, 9ball and I could sit in a room with no tape recording and talk at each other all day, and sometimes we do that anyways. But we turn this thing on to interact with you guys and to really hear from you. A lot of people will always like chime in clan chat and stuff, but like, you ruined my week by not having a show, and I feel so bad when we don't have the show. So like, it's, the expectation is there from both sides, and we all want to just, continue to do this thing for as long as humanly possible. And we're trying to not go anywhere. So we really appreciate getting letters like this. I hope that we can continue to be a source of positivity and awesomeness for you as we continue to do more and more shows. Coming up on 100 soon. That's pretty cool. And then last but not least, I have one more email coming from Rogowski8, and this is one that will definitely have to be continued because he's asking a little bit about lore. He says, "Sup fellas, Rogowski8 writing in again. I've just watched Riker's video about the most recent rumors about a new Diablo game, and I wanted to ask your opinion on some things. Not about will they, won't they, since that topic has sort of been done to death, but I was wondering what your thoughts were on potential story/lore of a sequel. For example, how Diablo and Endario were supposedly tight before the Dark Exile. What if they had a baby or something, and that baby had now developed into the new prime evil in the absence of the primes and lesser evils? I'm just hoping to hear any theories you have, or that you've read, that sound cool and that you'd love to see in a sequel. Anyway, still loving the podcast, and enjoyed hearing Leviathan's recent cameo on Flux's Crusader episode. His optimism, mixed with Flux's dry sarcasm, and misnaming 9-ball, nerd balls, and 10-ball was pretty great. Thanks, guys. Rogowski 8. Yeah, we had fun with 9-ball's name, as Flux usually does. Even when I'm not on the show or 9-ball's not on the show, if you listen to it, he'll randomly still bring up 9-ball. I think he misses him a little bit. Have to send our buddy over there to go and comfort Flux. So story, I'm like the weakest member of our team when it comes to story, because I keep saying I have the books like right behind me over there, and I'm like, I'm gonna read those now that the season's winding down, now that it's the summertime. I haven't read crap diddly squat, so I don't know when it comes to lore. And truth be told, when I'm playing the game, like the very first time through, I want to read, I want to see all the cinematics and stuff like that, but I haven't committed it to memory. I couldn't even really tell you what the story is of D3. Like in specific, I kind of know in general. I remember some things happening. So I don't know what a continuation of this story would be. A lot of people are saying, though, that Leah's soul still needs to be redeemed. She needs her redemption moment. So people are saying we need to go and rescue her. I don't know. That's kind of an interesting thing to consider, is would D4 continue this storyline? Or would it start anew? Would we transition into something very different than all the tenets of this? Would they revive Deckard Cain, which is like something I've seen people say a lot. Like they feel really badly for how he died and feel like he's justified to live again or die a better way or something to that effect. So they could obviously go any which way. And when you think about the fact that both Leonard Boyarsky and Brian Kindrigan, two people who were pretty integral to getting the story of Diablo 3 fleshed out, are gone, well, their influence won't be felt potentially when they're making the next story. So it really could go in a very different direction. It's up to debate as to exactly how it goes down, what any one direction they could go. But that's another thing that's exciting too, is, before D3 came out, we got the Book of Cain, right? And then before Reaper came out, I think we got the Book of Tyrael. I could be confusing those, but we might get another Book of X, Book of Malthael, Book of that really jerk angel dude who kind of helped us in Act 5, whose name I can't remember right now. Imperius, right? Yeah. So we could get his book, or I don't know, a lot of stuff to flesh out some more lore, to give you some more things to look forward to. And because the thing is, like, that book could come well before a new game comes out, and that could help to bridge the gap of waiting, or, helping us figure out what exactly we have in store for us. You could totally read into like each page. Like, I could tell you right now, if a book of Imperius or a book of Leah or something comes out, I would actually stop and read it if it meant that I would know something about like the next Diablo game. So, I mean, if that doesn't speak for itself on excitement level potential, I don't know what does. But in any case, I will definitely poke 9-ball when he comes in next episode to get his views on that stuff too, because he's always thinking about lore, and I'm sure he has some new ideas now that he has no internet to distract him from thinking purely about Diablo lore. That was it for emails from the community section. And again, I'll just throw the email address at you guys, westmarchworkshop@blizzpro.com, if you want to be featured in that section as well with any of your emails regarding, maybe you have some story ideas. If you would like to submit where you want the story to go, send us an email. Or if you have an idea or an inkling or a tinfoil hat speculation, we want to hear it. Moving over to the items of the week. We have one item of the week, and this comes in from Replay via Twitter, and it's an Ancient Focus. Hopefully you guys can see that on your screen. This is, as you can see in the background, on his barb, and it's got 606, or maybe 605, I'm blind, 606 strength, which came with it normally, A perfect critical hit damage increased by 50%, normal roll as well. A reroll of critical hit chance increased by 6%. The socket that comes with all focuses, and inside of that socket, a Bane of the Stricken at rank 71. And for secondaries, 177 lightning resistance and 7,400 and either 81 or 91 life after each kill. And I did mention that this is ancient, so at some point he could tag a Call to Sun's Despair on there for some more primary stat. So thank you for sending that in, Replay. A very nice focus for you. Hope you're enjoying it and putting it to good use. Hopefully you're not dead with it either, because I'm pretty sure Replay is still playing hardcore. So you never know when items, that's the risk you take when sending in an item of the week. It might not even live to see the day when we feature it, because you could be dead by the time we get around to showing it. But yeah, guys, we just did about an hour of show. Lots of news items, like I mentioned. A little bit of community feedback there at the end. Feeling good about life. So thank you all, one and all, for tuning in. The Westmarch workshop is, of course, going nowhere. We will have, or last time I said that, someone was like, wow, you guys aren't going anywhere? That's a very pessimistic outlook. What I mean to say is we will always be here for you guys. Wednesday nights, 9 p.m. Eastern time, 6 p.m. Pacific. And we will potentially think about going back to the every week schedule. I've been seeing some feedback on it. A lot of people are sad that they don't get to hear from us as often as they used to. It'll be a discussion that Nineball and myself have. As you can see, as soon as we decided to switch to the bi-weekly format, there was a flood of news. And as soon as we switch back to, like, you know, going week by week, there's going to be less news. So I don't know what's going on with this thing. We'll definitely talk it over though and let you guys know. You guys will be the first to know what we end up deciding to go with. But we are always considering your opinion. So if you have an opinion on the format as well too, feel free to tweet at us or send an email. Again, the WM Workshop for Twitter, Westmarch Workshop at blizzpro.com for the email. And how else can you reach us? Well, we're also in-game. We have a in-game community, which is Westmarch Workshop, and you can find that by using the community search tools that are in the game. Like I mentioned, we also have the clan, which is the BlizzPro clan, and we have a few free spots there and many opening up day after day. So if you're looking for a new home, you want to jump ship on your clan, feel free to come on over. If not, join the community. That's also always a good place to go if you're looking to stay in your clan but still hang out with all the fine folks of the workshop. We also have Discord, and we actually got a new link for the Discord, which I did not save. But while I'm talking and filibustering here, I can probably find it for you guys. So don't you dare worry, because that link will be read in just a moment here. It's https://discord.gg/blizzpro. That's our new, like, a vanity URL. And it works. This one works. I know a lot of people were having issue with the last link for whatever reason in certain browsers, but it's been tested, kid tested, mother approved in all browsers, in app, everywhere that Discord works, you can use it. We will be ramping up the Discord usage, especially as Season 7 approaches. So hop in there. We make announcements from time to time. We usually cross-post to Twitter and whatnot, but it's cool to be in Discord. It's a really nice way to chat with your fellow gamers. And how about stuff from BlizzPro? Diablo.blizzpro.com is our home. That's our webpage. When you go there, you will find all of the things that I've talked about tonight and much more. We write our articles there. We put some videos up there. A multimedia experience. Here on the channel, which you are watching live if you're here right now, twitch.tv/BlizzPro, is where we do our live show. Like I mentioned, Wednesdays, 9 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Pacific, but we're not the only ones here. On Sundays, you have the Well Met podcast. That goes off at 10 p.m. Eastern, and those guys talk about Hearthstone like nobody's business. They wreck it, top decking and wrecking. On Tuesdays, you have the Heroes Power Hour, and that also goes off at 10 p.m. Eastern. So if you want to learn more about Ariel being added to Heroes of the Storm as a new support from the Diablo universe, you might want to check their podcast out. Like I mentioned, Tuesdays, 10 p.m. Eastern. Wednesdays, that's us. Westmarch Workshop, 9 p.m. Eastern. And then on Thursdays, we have The Payload, our Overwatch podcast, where those guys talk about shooting people in the face, or arrowing people, or meleeing people, or ninjaing people, if you're Genji. Their show goes off Thursdays, 10 p.m. Eastern. And feel free to, follow the channel. You can even subscribe. We have cool emotes. We have the clam chat emote. Who doesn't love that? It's a good time. We enjoy ourselves here, and we hope you guys will join us in enjoying yourselves as well. Individually, 9ball Gamer on Twitter. He's not here right now, but he would love to hear from you. Send him a tweet. Say 9ball, we missed you. Hashtag blame Archon for the internet. I don't know. And then for myself, don't read what's below me right now, because that's wrong, and we haven't changed our overlay just yet. My Twitter is LeviathanD3, and like I mentioned, my Twitch stream is twitch.tv/Leviathan111, getting around to streaming a bit more often, some shorter streams right now, and then once Season 7 rolls around, super duper long marathon type streams, so look forward to that. Otherwise, guys and girls, I got nothing else for you. The show has come to completion, and so have I. Oh man, I'm getting a little loopy here on a Friday evening. Hope you guys enjoyed the show. It's been real, episode 95, a game of directors. Hopefully you guys got that title, by the way. It's a Game of Thrones, but directors, a game of directors, game directors. I don't know. Until next time, be well, do well. Hopefully RNG is on your side. Go and farm blood shards in a few hours. Get as many blood shards as you can this weekend. And I'll be seeing you guys in game.